Hey guys, Elite Legionarii here, bringing you a 2 versus 2 for Rome Total War. This time on the Seleucian Hills map. I'll be playing as Germania, and I'll be joining up with Biscuits. I know you'll be watching this, Biscuits, so I promised you I would get this fight to you, and I will. And thank you very much for I know you watch my channel pretty consistently, and I really appreciate that. So thank you very much. And this was a great fight, so it was great to work with you. So any of you want a good ally, Biscuits is a good ally to have. He'll be playing as the Seleucids. So we'll be facing off against Evroute again. He was in the last one. He's Pontus this time, and Kingjim, who is the Julli Romans. So I kind of forgot how this map was. I forgot that it was this kind of hill and it worked like this. So I went with a rush army, and that's not really going to work very easily on a map like this against my opponent's kind of army. So I have no missile units, and it is a bit risky for Germania. Although the problem with Germania is it's chosen archer warband, it's only archer, and they're a good archer. They're actually a really reliable archer, but they're very expensive. So fielding them at any numbers is kind of risky because you weaken other parts of your army. So I kind of forgot. I thought this map was more flat than this, but it's been a long time since I played on it, so I kind of forgot. But anyway, my army consists of, I usually use spear warband here. They're not that great. There's 4 of them, gold. Now their job is simple. They're just to pin my opponent down, and I've got to do the no gaps in the line trick, so that'll stall it a bit longer. I have my main strike and killing infantry is these 4 chosen axemen, which I'll use to come around the side. I have a skirmish warband for the peeler screen, and I have 4 gold gothic cav and 2 berserkers, no upgrades. I usually do not use berserkers, but again I need some of the better units because I'm still trying to get back into the swing of Rome. In the future I will generally not use them, but I thought it would be kind of fun to use them. I didn't put any upgrades on them. In my opinion, they're too expensive to upgrade. So, because I can't really, my opponent here has come with a cavalry auxiliary and he's harassing my cav, and I don't want to lose too many casualties to them. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to use my skirmish warband to try and take a few hits on him, and I have actually knocked a few of his men off already, probably like 3 or 4, 5 or so. And if I do enough damage, if he gets close enough, and here I see that he gets close enough, so a downhill charge, I can catch this light cav and destroy it. So that worked out rather nicely. So anyway, let's catch some of Biscuits' force. He has, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 5 units of, they look to be gold, well probably 3 upgrades, I'm guessing gold attack, silver shield pikemen. I do believe I went with less money this time, or I might be wrong though, and he's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 units of probably silver by the looks of it. This one looks like, oh no, silver there, and a couple of side chariots, so that's probably why he's got less upgrades, because they're quite expensive. No upgrades on them, and 5 cataphracts or silver would still be pretty costly. And he's got 4 archers, so his archers have got a big role to play because our opponent's got a lot of missile units. So if we blindly charge them, particularly me, we're going to suffer some nasty hits from those missile units. So we're going to try and bait our opponents forward. Now what we wanted to do was bait them forward, and I definitely hate hill camping, and I won't do it almost under any circumstance unless I'm completely outnumbered by multiple people and stuff like that. But so what we're going to do is we're going to try and draw them forward enough to the point we can just rush downhill and use the downhill charge in conjunction with the fact that they'll be so close to us that we can basically crash into them and nullify the effectiveness of their archers. Because otherwise we'll just lose. If we stay in a protracted skirmish, we will lose the fight like this. So we have to play it carefully. So anyway, our opponent's armies, we'll start with Evroute. He's got several bronze shields with gold attack, or 3 upgrades I presume. I think he's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I don't know, for whatever circumstances it is, I don't know. Bronze shield pikemen seem to always beat silver shield pikemen. The stats are identical, unless of course it's different upgrades, but I've done the test many times, and about 8 times out of 10 bronze shield pikemen beat silver shield pikemen. Yeah, I don't know why. When there's no upgrades, it's strange. know what it's about, but so that is something that Biscuits will have to be aware of, and I'm not sure if he was aware of it, but although if he's got a height advantage and uses pikes right, he should be alright. The rest of the Pontic force consists of 4 units of archers. They look to be probably gold attack, but they're in tight formation. Interesting choice. He's got 1 unit of chariot archers, with a couple of, I'm not too sure, looks like he might have gold on those. Just a couple of Cappadocian cav, and some scythe chariots. So he's got some pretty deadly cavalry force there too. And my opponent has got, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, I think he's got 6 units of, might be gold urban cohorts. He's got 1, 2, 3, 4 units of, I think they're gold attack archer auxilia, so he's got a good range advantage there, but fortunately we have this held to enable Biscuits' archers range. And all we have to do is basically just keep drawing them forward to the point where we can rush them without having to rush so far that they can pull back and start shooting us with their missiles. So we're attempting to do that now. So neither of us want to camp on the hill. It's definitely not my style, and I will avoid doing it if at all possible. But this fight was kind of difficult because I have no missile units, and they've got so many more than us. They've got like 5 more than us. So we have to play it very carefully because both of us can lose a lot of men to missiles, particularly me though, because Germania does not have a lot of defensive points in their troops. So that is why you have to be very careful of missile units. So what we have to do is bait them forward so we can quickly get into the infantry and cavalry fight before those archers can be of much use to them. Now, the interesting thing here is because he's brought archer auxilia with 3 upgrades apiece on them, as well as 6 urban cohort with gold, he can't afford Praetorian cavalry to support him. So that is another thing too. When you use archer auxilia, you generally have to sacrifice urbans or Praetorians if you're going to use the span, which most Roman players do. So that's why that has its use. So I have to use my cavalry accordingly. Now what I wanted to actually do was actually do a wedge charge into where I saw these guys were in Testudo before, and I believe he puts them into Testudo again, and I was very tempted to put my cav into wedge and charge, but the only thing that's stopping me is this unit of bronze shield pikeman that's behind these urbans. He can push them forward and basically intercept them and save the urbans, but if he's in Testudo he will not be able to use Pila, and getting caught by a cav charge, particularly wedge when they're in Testudo, is a nightmare. It'll do a lot of damage even to urban cohort, so that's what I was hoping for. And as you can see, he's being drawn forward and he's almost on incline now. And if you want at any point, guys, do skip ahead if I'm boring you. But as you see, he goes into Testudo again, and this, I mean, Testudo's got its uses, but generally you don't really need to use it. But it certainly has its uses at times, but it's pretty limited in my opinion. Urbans are so powerfully armoured from the front that they really don't take much damage from missile fire at all. But anyway, Biscuits will continue to just skirmish with him, although he does have a range limitation. But he has done a pretty good job. His archers are doing well. And again, like I said, I really wanted to do a cav charge against these urbans here. I probably could have caught them before he could have retreated, but the problem would have been these bronze shields, although I likely could have taken damage from these archer auxilia, which is why I kind of wanted, I was almost tempted to ask Biscuits to cover me, but it was probably putting too much on them, considering that these other archers would probably have him in range, and his archers would just take too many casualties. But I was thankful though, because Biscuits was, he was willing to listen to my ideas, and I was willing to listen to his as well, of course. But sometimes the main thing with the 2 vs 2, 3 vs 3, 4 vs 4, whatever, anything that requires a team, is basically working together. If you don't work together and don't communicate, it's very hard to win. It's pretty frustrating. Anyway, as you can see, Jim has come forward again, and so is Evroute. If we can just draw him forward enough, I think what we'll do is, I mean, there's not much of a run for my guys to get down there. It won't take long at all. So as they're drawing forward like this, What we're going to do is we'll probably wait until his archers are actually starting to walk forward, and then we'll rush while the archers are walking forward, because that way his archers will have to stop before they can start firing. So every little bit of time. So as you can see, Biscuits is now condensing his silver shield pikemen into tight formation, and in a moment I'm about to charge. Because the gap between us isn't particularly big now, and it won't they won't get a lot of missile fire down, and while he's in Testudo like this, he's not going to be as effective either. So if I can rush him, get down there while he's stuck into Testudo long enough, I might even be able to save myself from the peeler, but although I'll have to be very quick, and my micro is probably not quite up to standard for that at the moment. But so as you can see, they're drawing a lot of their units forward more and more, and it was at this point I believe I went for it. I told Biscuits to go as well, although he was a wee bit behind me. But it doesn't particularly matter, because although his missile units are there, as you can see, they're going to have to withdraw really quickly because we're so close to them. And by this point, while they withdraw, they're not going to be shooting at us, and we're going to get in close. Now, so I waited for my peeler screen to get in range here, and I was looking forward to trying catching these guys in Testudo, but they just managed to break out. And I do accidentally leave my peeler screen behind here, so I'm going to take some damage from these peeler, which is not good, because these guys I need to just hold. So as you can see, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to rush forward with my guys here, and as I rush, I don't get my pikes down very well with this unit, but fortunately they hold, and what I'm doing is I'm going to come round the flank with my chosen axeman. Over here, this is going to be a general pike grinding fight, but he's going to get his guys around the flank pretty quickly. And as you can see here, I'm going to war cry, and I'm just going to go straight into the back of these urbans. This is going to be a nightmare here, and he's had to pull a unit off, but that's fine, and these urbans are getting mashed now, because chosen axeman in the back of urban cohorts is a nightmare for urbans, and I get some cav in to assist, and I'm going to use my berserkers to hopefully keep any of these cavalry units away. And I've got a couple other cav units here, and as you can see, I managed to rout this urban here. These other urbans, these ones over here are doing okay, but by this point Biscuits is getting his cav round, because there's just a huge gap here that he can exploit, and I'm confident that my berserkers will be able to stop this cavalry and chariots. But I need to get my own cavalry out of this, so I'll quickly try to withdraw them, because I know I'd lose it, so I'm going to withdraw it out. But now my berserkers have got in there, and seriously, they're going to do a lot of damage. We're going to just cause a heck of a lot of damage. Look at his chariots are just snagged out, everything's getting snagged out. And by this point, for some reason I end up pushing straight through this gap, but as you can see, because he's gone to go after me, Biscuits is just going to come in with his cataphracts, and it's just going to just wrap up this line completely. As I come down with the rest of my guys here, most of these urbans are now getting destroyed pretty quickly, and of course we've got cataphracts support over here now, which is great. We managed to come into him here, and he's got his guys backwards for some reason, so I'm just going to come straight to his flank with my axeman. And the axeman in the back of anything's dangerous, really dangerous. So basically the general plan this time was simple: to just draw them forward and rush them before their missiles could stop us, and it managed to work pretty well. I probably took more casualties than Biscuits, but I had to deal with the Pontic cavalry units as well as the Roman infantry. But Biscuits was quick to support, and basically that's why we were so quick to win. And I'm thankful for that, because when you fight and your ally just is too slow, or doesn't listen, or doesn't help, it just can spell the defeat for you. So we're just going to pick off whatever's left. And we're just routing, I think we're just racing to see who can get the most kills here. But I think Biscuit beats me to it, and he gets a few more than I do. But I'm glad with the way that went, considering I didn't have any missiles, and that would have been challenging. But I mean, people always say spear warband are crap, and it's true, they are crap, but that doesn't mean they can't be useful. They're very good at stalling. You can still expect them to hold some even urban cohort in position long enough for you to get your axemen into the flank, and once you get your axemen into the flank, those urbans will die. And out of all the factions I find beating Rome with, I always have a lot of success with Germania because of those axemen. The only area where Germania struggles against Rome is when Rome brings Praetorian cavalry, because Praetorian cav is so much better than than Gothic Cav. That's where you need Berserkers quite often to help you in that fight, and that's where I generally use them. So anyway, it was a really good game to Biscuits and Everett and Kingjim. It's a heroic victory for us. But as you can see, the top kill goes to Biscuits of 582, so he did a fantastic job. I get 394 though, and I was pretty pleased with that because I had no missile units, and those urbans were really packing a lot of upgrades. So great game to Biscuits, Everett and Kingjim. As you can see, they still had some reasonable kills there, I guess. And if you look at the stats, Gothic Cav, a couple of them did pretty good, a couple of them put some pretty nasty hits. Spear Warband, they didn't do that well. This one did pretty impressive with 37. Against an urban cohort, that's pretty impressive. But the Chosen Axemen were the real strikers there, and the Berserkers were really handy as well. I'm not particularly fond of Berserkers though, because of how so silly they are as a unit. They're kind of fun sometimes, but they're quite useful to have just if you use them to support in the cavalry department, because sometimes there's a lot of factions have better stuff cavalry than Germania, so you need to kind of give them a bit of an edge there. So that's what I like to use them for. But anyway, again, great game to Biscuits, Everett and Kingjim. Hope you guys enjoyed, and I shall see you soon next time.